So it's March 27th. This is our 39th Zoom call.
Wow.
Yeah. So John Paul's here. I'm here. Murray's here. Point out with this slide that Chipping Away is our major sponsor of our work here. And you'll see in a few minutes, that Cindy Might and Frank, who owns Chipping Away and manages the Chipping Away store, she's sponsoring tonight's recognition of the challenge projects that we put in front of us. So we thank Cindy for that, and we'll thank her again as we look at some of the things that were sent in from a challenge standpoint. So thank you, Cindy. So I'm going to stop sharing in a minute and we'll do the welcome and open for questions. The all about us tonight, if Larry's on the line or gets on the line, he's sent in some photos of some of the carvings he's created over the years. So Larry's going to do the all about us segment of our Zoom call. We'll talk again about upcoming shows. A few of you have sent in a slide on what's on the bench, and we'll show that. Mike Southen has put together an interesting project, a book project that he calls Barely There, and he'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to go back to our December and January challenge of carving in the round. And again, these challenges were to just do that, get better at carving things that were rounded. And so John Paul introduced the notion of the bat, and I introduced the notion of the hoodie guy, and we've had a lot of people take part in that. And we'd like to just recognize the fact that people are participating in those challenges, because it's something that John Paul and I hope to continue on in some fashion in the next number of Zoom calls. And so we're going to have just a little random draw for the people who have participated in those. We talked last time about small group tutorials, and we took a little bit of a pass at that this time around. Pam and Jacques. John Paul and myself sat in together and did one of the elf carvings, the ornament carving. So we'll just talk about how that went and how we can improve that, and hopefully get some more people interested in doing that in between our Thursday Zoom calls, monthly Zoom calls. There was a suggestion that we spend a little bit of time talking about sharpening again, and that kind of makes sense to me, because I know a group that I'm working with, I'm carving with in Odessa, just west of Kingston. They were quite interested in sharpening, and could see the value in having a sharp tool once we sharpened them for them. And so we can talk a little bit about that again if time permits. And if it doesn't, we'll move that to the next time we're together. And then anything on tips, tricks, and techniques, we can talk about that. So let's go back here and welcome everybody, and let's just open it for questions, and hope that I can find that slide deck again. So we'll open it for questions or comments or anything that's been on your mind since our last Zoom call. You haven't thought about anything since our last Zoom call. Boy, you guys live a nice life.
Was that vodka you're drinking, Mark?
Yeah, it is, and it's good too. It's Canadian. It's Canadian. Okay, if anything comes up in the course of the session here, just raise it.
I can. Hey, Mark, this is Kevin Reed. Just
Yeah.
want to say it's good to be back. It seems every time you've had your sessions in September, I haven't been able to make it, but
Well,
I'm
we
here
planned
now
it
and
that
looking.
way.
Okay. Well, looking forward to hearing what's going on today.
Good. Thanks,
Welcome
guys.
back.
Yeah, we missed you. Okay, so Larry, are you on the call right now?
Can you hear me okay there, Mark?
I can.
Yep.
All right, so let's hand it over to you, Larry, and you can do the all about us piece. All right.
Anyway, my name is Larry Whitehead. I'm a self-taught carver. I live between Barrie and Aurelia. I've been with the True North Caricature Carvers for about 3 years now, and started carving in about 2012 after having a shoulder surgery, and was off for a bit. So I thought I'd learn how to do something. I've been drawing cartoons for most of my life, and love working with wood. So carving character was a natural fit. The Amish guy there was my very first character carving that I painted. I felt really good about him, and it was one of those kickoff moments that I thought, okay, I could do this. and he's kind of square, and the eyes are kind of weird and things like that. But the work boots came out cool and whatever. And the ones behind there are actually my very first ones, and back in 2012, and they sort of started me doing wood spirits and things like that, and that. But as you can see in the background there, yeah. So, and the other guy is from a wizard from around 2017. I learned how to do a lot of wood spirits and facial expressions, and that's what got me into doing the character carving. Um,
If,
I'd like to learn how to do all the different things and that from everything from animals to creatures to people, cars, trees. I've also been doing a lot of wood burning in my carvings. So the next one here,
yeah,
the
I was just going to mention that little Amish character. If that was one of your first ones, like you really did
yeah, that was
well.
my
I mean,
very first character carving.
well, that's really good.
And it was one of those when the hands came out cool. It's kind of square now, but the boots came out neat with the laces. And it was one of, wait a minute, I can do this. So I'm a cartoonist, so taking a two-dimensional drawing and making a three-dimensional carving was really fun for me. And then you see even the progression from a couple of years later with the wizard guy, which I really enjoyed doing. And I love that you can get to do them quicker and quicker all the time.
yeah.
And
But the way you did the face on that Amish guy, like that is really good. The hardest part of caricature carving is doing the face, and you nailed
yeah,
the nose and the cheeks and the eyes. You did a really good job at that.
thank you, thank you. The eyes are a little wonky, but it kind of I think I captured them pretty good with the beard, the way they have it with the don't have it over their lip like mine is and
Yeah,
yours is.
yeah.
And but it's at just around the jaw. And yeah, and the hands for me, I was like, wow, that took a long time. But it was kind of cool when it was all finished. I thought, wait a minute, I can do this, and I really enjoy it. And then the antiquing also, when you finish spending hours and hours on a carving and days and months, and then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you dip it into this black goo, and you think, did I just waste all my time?
Yeah,
But then you realize how it totally changes it to a different, like a really finished carving when you wipe it all off and let it dry. But it's that initial stage of getting used to that, putting your antiquing on a finished carving was a little bit for me.
looks really good. Okay, I'll move to the next slide here, Larry.
So this here was a Viking that I did in 2017. Somebody had to give me a consignment piece, but I didn't have enough fierceness to it, and I've repainted the eyes twice. But I think if I did it again, it's probably about 12, 14 inches long, 8 inches wide. A beautiful piece of basswood to work with. You got it from Lee Valley. But I think now I would have put more emphasis into the beard because this is like one of my earlier pieces, and it worked out pretty good. But I think now I would have really detailed the mustache and the beard a little more. But yeah, it is what it is, and it's one of my earlier carvings. So yeah, I kind of like it. The eyes, like I say, were blue the first time, so I repainted it all and that. So anyway, so this was yeah one of my later carvings.
Nice. Everybody feel free to chime in as we go, right?
Yeah. This year, I ended up seeing. I wanted to been doing figures lately, and you spend like a month on carving, and you get the figure good, get the legs, the arm, everything else all really good, but then you get to the face, and it looks like a gargoyle. And I think, well, you just wasted all your time. So I've been spending. People have been talking about having problem with doing eyes and doing this and that. Well, just keep doing eyes, keep doing noses, keep doing faces. So for me, I like this here, and it's a piece of pine. It's about almost 24 inches long. And the hair was one of the ones I thought was kind of neat, something a little different that accents and whatever. And then the beads and that. But it was the face more that I wanted to do a pretty lady's face, the lips and the eyelashes as opposed to the open eyes and that. And you can see the grain on the face and that. And so my big thing was just if you're having a problem with your carvings, whatever it is, just keep maybe doing just that project, the faces, the hands, the feet, whatever it is. And for me, it was the faces. So I've done a whole lot of faces. But anyway, this is a nice garden piece that
Oh,
I'd made.
nice. And
Nice job.
yeah, and it's a real, I think John Paul will say the same thing. It's a real challenge to do a female's face. You can do, be doing years and years of men's faces, old men's faces, and then you try to do a female's face. It's a totally different challenge. If you're trying to do it, like you've done, I wouldn't call this a caricature, although, the eyes and the lips are exaggerated. But to try to do a female's caricature, it's a different ball of wax. It's really difficult to do.
Totally. It's really easy to do a guy with wrinkles and a big nose and baggy eyes. Real easy. I've got over 200 carvings around my house. I counted them the other day, inside and outside. And yeah, I'm great at wood spirits and big ugly noses and faces and expression. But then all of a sudden you switch over to women and it's a total different. It's smooth, where the cheekbones go, where the jaws go. How do you make the lips so they don't look silly? And with this one, actually, the eyelashes are all wood burn because I've been
Oh,
doing a whole lot of wood burning lately too. And I thought, well, rather than taking away what's working on the eyes, I thought in this case it was working on the face and the hair. And the hair was this was like a 2 inch thick piece of wood. So it took me like a month of just cutting that hair and cutting it down and making my own. And but it was the yeah, the face. And the other part was you're doing ladies is a lot of sanding. The caricature you make it, but it's like wrinkles and things. So it looks better when you antique it. But ladies, you don't want that.
nice carving.
You're talking about
And these
it
ones,
and
Nope.
dropping it in goo. What is that?
that's a piece of pine.
No, you're talking about your antiquing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one actually, I just actually spray varathane that one. And then what I do is I spray varathane it and then I rub it with a cloth. So usually when you finish with a spray varathane on a character after you've antiqued it, you just leave it. But on skin, a lot of times what you do is you spray varathane it and then you actually take a cloth and you rub it. And then it doesn't have like a shiny texture. It has more like a skin. I use shoe polish, I use floor wax, I use different things on skin. And it's a different finish than it is like a caricature for me.
I think Bob's asking you just the whole notion of this dropping it in the goo, as he said. Like what is antiquing? What do you use to antique it after you put the urethane on it?
So I'm sorry, what do I do
I
instead
think
of
Bob's
putting it in the
asking,
goo?
yeah, but Bob's asking you like what is this antiquing with the goo? Like how do you do that?
Oh, okay. The guys have the antiquing finishings that I don't have the formulator in front of me, but they Mike Skipley and that in the back of his book and that he has an antiquing thing where it's one part oil, one part Mark, the different things that you make up to make your formula for your antiquing.
Yeah, like just thinner and oil stain you're thinking of.
Yeah, there's like three parts to it, and then you mix it up, and I put it in a container, and I get different ones. I got them light, I got a shiny, I got sometimes I'll just if it's low, I'll add um, oils to it or whatever, furniture oils or whatever. Sometimes I get too shiny, but yeah, you'd yeah, there's different techniques or whatever for the antiquing stuff. But
But
I'd have to, I say like Mike Shipley, he has probably the
yeah.
greatest one
But
on the formula.
the process itself, Larry, I think is one where you have your caricature complete, like this Amish guy,
Yes.
and there's got a seal on it, like a urethane or a varathane, and so nothing will penetrate that. And so you put the dark antique on it, whether it's a stain or a store-bought antiquing medium. You let that set up until it's kind of tacky, and then you wipe it all off, and then it's all of that dark stuff stays in all of the crevices, and it just gives it another dimension, right?
Yeah, and it kills that like painted look because folk art paint and everything else has that flat, whatever it is. Yes, exactly the way you mark the way you described it was exactly yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that,
I
so
hope that
Bob,
helps.
that was a good question from Bob. So that's one way to
Yeah,
do
it
it.
was a very good question.
Yeah, and so like one of the things we should probably do is come back to that, John Paul, and you
Hmm.
and I typically don't do that, but
No.
maybe we could show other ways to use the acrylic paints to get the same effect, right?
Hmm.
So we'll make a note of that. Maybe John Paul, you can make a note of that, and we can
Writing
come.
that down right now.
Great, thanks.
Yes. Yeah, I think it really gives it a nice old finish. And
Yeah.
he's actually the guy on right there, whatever is that's actually floor wax, and it's And then because I use a shoe brush, it gave it a little bit of from the shoe polish, gave it a touch of a brownish tinge to the
Hmm.
thing. They're both made of basswood. And the lady, she's a couple of coats of, excuse me, Varathane. And then, like I say, when it was just wet, and I just wiped it down, like really rubbed it. And that as opposed to just a Varathane look. And that gives them both a softer skin look to them.
Hmm.
So, but I wanted to do these because the better I know the anatomy, the better I'm going to be a carver because you can just sort of copy something or you know how the muscles go. Because really, when you're finished with carving, it's just clothes that go on like a wrap on the outside. But the length of the legs, the hand, the elbows, the whatever. So anyway, it's a different avenue I've sort of gotten into that I want to be able to carve anything. So
That's great.
anyway, character is my specialty, but I love to be able to carve anything.
Great. Now I split your cabinet up into two pieces so the carvings look a little bigger.
Okay. And yeah, so these are some faces I was trying to gain because they say having trouble with the ladies' faces. The one in the middle was one of my first ones. It's the eyes were a little not maybe exactly, but same thing with the figure there. It was like Varathane and then rubbed again. And um and then the inside is my cupboard, which my partner says, I think Larry, you're gonna have to try and sell some of these sometime because we're running out of space in the house here. And you can sort of see by the look of that cupboard that I'm definitely running out of space.
I like this guy up here. I wouldn't mind trying that one myself.
Yeah, the elf guy. That's Floyd Radisson's
Oh,
um,
yeah.
in his book there. Actually, I learned to make a lot of new things because of our monthly challenges and things like that. That has totally helped me being a carver. And I get a lot of ideas, like I say, out of the wood carving illustrated book. And I at the end of maybe I'll wait 2 months, and then I go through the magazine, and then I'll cut out the patterns that I like, and then I put them in files, and I get a whole huge file cabinet now for Christmas and Halloween. But whenever you want to make something or get some ideas or a consignment piece, you can just sort of go to that information and not like anybody else that learning how to do all this stuff, the more information you have, the you can go back to and whatever, the better it is. And over the years too, the different carving people like Freud Radisson, I'm saying his name right. He does really cool caricature stuff, and Debbie Paddington, she's helped me with painting and mixing and things like that. Nancy Tuttle, she was another carver that does a lot of wood spirits and things like that. Her expressions are absolutely phenomenal, and her work. So Mike Shipley, I got one of his books, and I carved every single item in his book, and I sent him a picture with everything, and he said, "Oh, you good work there. Just keep it up, and you're gonna get better." But every single one of them. And Ian Norby, he's the Norberg, he's one with the figures and that. So, like I say, the more you can know about figures, the better you're going to be in doing the other parts
Right.
because you know how it works. Because you got to visualize. If you're going to do a really good carving, you have to visualize it. If you're just copying it, it's not the same, I don't think. But if you can visualize the legs, the head, the face, the expression, the hands, then you're going to have a really good carving. And they say these are a few of my carvings. And yeah, my partner says I need to have a yard sale or go to a thing, but I'm sort of gathering them after a while. But and
Well, at
Mark, you
least,
too, you've been a real inspiration with all the stuff that you've done, and that. So yeah, so I appreciate all that, and just want to
well,
keep
thanks.
learning all the time.
Well, thanks very much. Well, at least they're all in a cabinet. You don't have to dust them, right?
No.
That was really interesting. Any questions or comments for Larry?
Nice work, Larry.
Yeah, great work on some of those. They look really, really interesting.
Thank you.
It'd be nice to, in subsequent Zoom calls to just take a picture of some close up of some of those so we can really see the detail in them because they're clearly really well done.
Thank you. And I'll get back to you about that antiquing because I really think that for me anyway, it finishes the carving. And like I say, with the wood between the wood burning and the antiquing, those two have really makes a real difference, because when you're doing a caricature and you have the lines in the face and things like that, when you antique it, it really accents it. And anyway, I really enjoy that.
Okay, we're going to come back to that. Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's keep moving forward. Upcoming shows. We're getting close to the Quinty Wood Carving Show, so that's April 12th, just in a couple weeks, really. And again, that's in Belleville, and it's at the Quinty Sports and Wellness Center, which is really easy to get to. It's just south of the 401. You just come off the 401 and you don't go 5 minutes, maybe less than 5 minutes to get to this Quinty Sports and Wellness Center. It's a real nice big facility, bright facility, and the show is always really good. I'm going to be there. Some of my friends here from Kingston are going to be there as well. They'll have a table. It's a good show in terms of the variety of general type carvers that come and carvings that come, but also the songbirds and the waterfowl are just fantastic. In years past, I don't know if they'll do it this year. I imagine they will, but in years past, they have a little tank where they actually float the working decoys, which I think is really interesting. So if you're within striking distance of Belleville and available April 12th, it's just a one-day show. You can come in and register your carving and leave by 4 o'clock, 4:30. It's a lot of fun. The show after that is June 6th and 8th this year, and that's Owl's Nest Wood Carving, and that is in Waterloo. And again, it's at a beautiful sportsplex, the Manulife Financial Sportsplex. Another great show, both in general carving, some of the finest wildfowl and songbird carving, I would say, in Canada. It's really, really well done, and another great show to go to. Now, if there's anybody on the Zoom call here that's a little closer to both of those shows and wants to say a little something about it, please do that right now. Okay, well, if you are available, great show to go to. Now, Doug, you're on the line, and this is a show in Winnipeg. Would you like to speak to this one?
There we go. Well, it's almost similar to that one you mentioned previously. It's actually on the same day, April 12th and 13th. We've been running this, Prairie Canada Carvings have been running this show for about 38 years.
Wow.
We have quite a diverse set of categories. We got 66 categories a person can enter a carving. We have character carving, bark carving, working decoys, antique decoys, waterfowl, all sorts of stuff. I am entering a boon and a hippie into the carving. I don't know what else. You mentioned the one show that has a big tub. We also have a tub where I was certainly impressed with not only do these decoys have to look like a decoy, they got to float like a decoy. I thought I was taking the carving a little bit too much, but it's all part of the competition. And I would say we have lots of other, it's a show and competition, but we also have workshops. Some of the clubs in the area, one club called Adanac is putting on a parent-child workshop. Another club called Legend de Bois is putting on a kind of a general learn to carve. And one of the senior instructors from that club is putting on a bark carving, wood spirit type of show. And then there's a learn how to power carve. Again, these workshops are more 4 hours in length. And then to raise money for Prairie Canada Carvers, we have 50-50 draws. We have a garage sale that I'm in charge of, selling tools that have been donated by estates or people who've left carving, that kind of thing. Again, it's a great,
Sounds like a great thing.
show. We'll get about 500 people.
Wow. Make sure you take a lot of photos, and following it, we'll put some of those photos up on our Zoom call. All right.
I'll work on the photos. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Okay. So let's turn to what's on the bench. We've had a few people send something in, and you can speak to that. Is Wayne on the line tonight?
Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead, Wayne.
This is a project I found in the Wood Carving Illustrated Christmas issue or winter issue from 2008. And a friend of mine had carved one, so I asked him for the pattern, and he told me where to find it. So I thought I'd give it a try. And after I read the article, usually my carvings, I put the spray on Varathane on them, but this one suggested using a product I had never heard of, Howard's Feed and Wax.
Yep.
So I had never heard of it before. Maybe some of the other carvers have, but I brought the bottle up in case. Anyway, I really liked it. It doesn't give a shine to the carving. It's made of beeswax and orange oil.
Mhm.
So I really like the finish that it put on my carving. Anyway, it was a great project, and I really enjoyed doing it. The tree and the axe are separate pieces, as well as the snow, the platform. Anyway,
Did a nice job on that. The face is really
Nice flow of the beard.
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you.
That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about a lot. Like instead of straight lines, nice flowing lines.
Yeah.
Really nice. Looks like it's moving.
Yeah, I like that kind of carving that it kind of tells a little story and
Right.
has some movement to it. Yeah.
Very nice, Wayne.
Thank you.
Oh, this is mine. So this is this is the same size as the little Christmas ornament elf. And so instead of a pointy hat, he's got a little leprechaun hat. And fun carving to do, really quick to do. In fact, at the Kingston Club here this week, we had about 8 people making one of these, and we pretty much got, I'd say 80-90% of it completed in, the morning session we had together. But fun little carving and easy to do, so that might be something you might want to come back to as a group on our Zoom call and do one of these. Maybe one of the offline tutorials we could do something with this. Really, it's a fun little carving.
Good.
Hey, Herbert.
Hi, good evening. This is just a quickie carving we did with some of the newer members at the senior center that I carve at. And most of the people just carved the character, and I always stick it on a base and try to add a little bit of extra detail. But it was just a fun, quick carving, gets everybody working as a group, and we socialize a bit more. And there were actually several new members, and that was the first 4 of them. So it was an interesting experience.
Turned out well. The thing that I'd highlight on this for everybody is the way Norbert made the eye socket before he tried to carve the eye. And so that's something you've heard John Paul talk about, and I've talked about probably too. We sometimes tend to do a caricature carving and just make it round to the nose or bridge of the nose and do the eye. But when you look at your face or anybody's face, the eye is way back beyond the brow in the socket. And so it looks to me anyway, Norbert, what you did is you just took a gouge and with the several passes made a nice deep socket and then dealt with the eye. And it makes all the difference, I think, in a caricature carving.
Yeah, it wasn't intended to be a super detailed. It was just short, quick, and perhaps a bit crude, but it is what it is.
It looks good. Thanks, Norbert.
Okay.
Dave, got a couple slides here.
Yeah, I was doing my semi-annual dusting of my caricatures and everything, and I come across these gnomes here, and I thought about, well, I can change that. So they usually have a cane in their hand or staff. So I had some flags out in the garage where I brought them in and stuck them in there instead. So Donald Trump is messing everything up, so we can mess them up again.
That's really good.
Okay, a few years ago, Canada 150's birthday, Mark made a carving of the beaver and the flagon. I liked his carving, so I took it and modified it for the Canada 150. But now, as I said, cleaning my shells off, I come across this carving again. So I changed it to reflect Trump again. So not for sale.
That's really good. I really like that. That's
Very
really-
nice, Dave.
Yeah, that's really cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job. Any questions or comments for Dave? Okay, and Larry, you sent in this sculpture.
Yeah, this here is actually a consignment carving that I have for a guy up north, but he wanted the hooves and everything else. I'd seen a chainsaw carving of a cow head or a cow's body. And anyway, so when I went to do this, when I discovered when you look at the pictures of cows and everything else on Pinterest, cows don't lay like that. The feet are tucked underneath, and so on and so forth. I knocked a horn off, so I had to drill a new horn in. I've gone with glass eyes from because that's how the picture sort of has. But you know how people do birds and they do glass eyes in the birds. So anyway, rather than painting the eyes this time, I have drilled them in, and like Mark was telling me, some different options to use for the gluing, and now which I'm going to go out tomorrow and get. The head is separate, the horn is separate, the eyes are separate. 99% of all my carving is one piece of wood, and I paint it. So it's something a little different for me, but at the same time, it's a learning curve. And same thing as what do you charge the customer and that. So I'm really looking forward to finishing it. It's been an ongoing project, and painting it, and then getting out of the way and moving on to the next one. But I think the face is coming out kind of cute, and the horns and that. So I think I'm gonna have some fun. Like I say, painting it up, and that's probably my most fun part of it. But yeah, a little different with the glass eyes, eh?
Yeah,
Mhm.
looks good. Looks really good.
Hey, Larry, for the glass eyes too, you can put wood putty in there, like the decoys carvers do. They put wood filler in the back of it, in the hole, and you put that glass eye in, you push it out, push it in, and it forms like an eyelid around the outside.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, John Paul. That's
Yeah.
my big
If you're going to paint
this
it,
project I just kept putting up because of things like that. And so the 15-minute epoxy,
yeah.
Mark, do you think would do the same thing?
As for the eyes,
Yes.
I think I would go with John's suggestion for the eyes with the putty. You can still, like, once you put the putty in, you can still, I guess, put some epoxy back in there. I know whenever I've used a glass eye, it's on a wire. I don't know if this,
Yes.
yeah, we'll
There's a
put,
wire drilled inside there.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
you could put some epoxy on the 15-minute epoxy on the wire to actually cement it in place. But you wouldn't want the epoxy to be around the eye because it gets tacky and it's not like what John described with the putty. The putty would do a much nicer job around the eye.
You can form the
Oh,
eyelid.
okay, Mark, I'll have to get that information from you on how I can get that then tomorrow
Yeah.
and do that. Thank you for that, because I know how when they do the bird's eyes, how it has that thing around the eyes, like from the putty. So
Yeah.
I wondered how they did it. I painted the back of the eyes brown because they're just clear. But yeah, John Paul, I'll get that info from you exactly, and then I can
No problem.
do
No
that
problem.
correctly on that.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
Larry had alluded to just a couple of emails we sent back and forth around gluing things in place when if you've done a carving that is made up of several pieces. And what I said to him, and others may have a different point of view, and I'd like to hear it. But if I'm gluing a piece into a carving that has a real tight fit, almost like an airtight fit, I'll use just carpenter's glue or cabinet maker's glue. You know, the yellow water-based glue that you can get at any hardware store. So it has to be a real tight fit though for that carpenter's glue to really do what it has to do. If there's any amount of gap, I'll use a 15-minute epoxy, and that's a 2-part epoxy of a resin and a hardener. You mix it together. It's called 15 minutes because you have 15 minutes to work it before it sets up. And once it sets up, you don't want to play with it too much because it'll, if you put a tool on it, a string of it'll come off on your tool as you pull the tool away. But it will be rock solid after 24 hours.
Thank you. That's all. I'll put the head on and the horn on, but then I'll get that stuff from Mark then for the eyes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
From John Paul, yeah.
Mark,
Home Depot sells that epoxy.
The 15-minute?
No, the plasticine type epoxy
Oh,
Andrew
very
was
good.
talking about.
Okay, well,
Sometimes it's in the plumbing department because they use that there as well, but Lee
okay.
Valley also sells it and Chipping Away sell it.
Oh, good. Okay.
Mark, have you ever used that stuff? I think I got it at Home Hardware, but it's a combination of putty and epoxy.
Okay.
And it comes in they look like old style 35 millimeter film canisters, and it's on a card. And there's the two in there. And I've actually used that stuff to set blades in handles that I've made, and they're still going strong. I've never had one break coming out of there. But yet when you want to set it like up again, you don't want to put it, that's wood. It really does a good job.
Now, is that something that that Larry would, Roger, just put yourself on mute there. I think that's the line we're hearing.
Bleep.
Hey, Roger,
happy.
is that your little dog barking? I think he's gone to stop the dog. Sue, would that work for what Larry's trying to do around the eye?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, good. Good.
Mark, I use Quickwood. And you put it in there, and then after you can carve it afterwards too, so you can make it perfect, right? And it closely matches basswood.
Okay.
And especially if you're going to paint it, it works great. You can get that Quickwood anywhere at Lee Valley, anything like that. It's just a part that you rub together, and it makes it just like a plasticine or whatever.
Bailey!
And then afterwards, you can carve around it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And then
looking
it gets
for.
really hard.
Good one. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you got a few leads there, Larry.
Yeah.
Hey, Roger, are you there?
Yep.
You want to just put yourself on mute because when the dog barks, it just
sorry.
No, it just goes to your
was.
screen. That's okay. Don't hurt the dog or anything. Okay, that was a really good discussion, everyone. All right, Mike is on the line, and he's got a real interesting project on the go that's called Barely There. And Mike, I'll let you introduce that, and I have a few slides here for you. You might be on mute, Mike. I think you'll find you're on mute, Mike. You want to come off of mute. I can see you, Mike. Are you working on coming off on mute? Can you hear me okay?
Oh, sorry, I was sorry, folks. I didn't realize I was on mute. There I am yapping away.
You were probably saying so many interesting things that we missed.
I'm sure. Yeah, it was great. I will probably never repeat it now.
Yeah. Well,
anyway, thanks for having me.
Unfortunately, your time is up.
Oh yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks. About 3 years ago, I started a project, and it was to do something for my grandkids to leave like a legacy, and also to do something for my carving friends. And combining the love of family and love of carving, I decided to do a picture book. So maybe you could show the cover. I believe you got that up here soon. Yeah. So I came up with this idea of a little bear in the woods who's very hungry and he's desperate to get something to eat. So I called him Barely There. And he tries some things to try and get food, but he's has trouble and things don't work out very well. So his animal friends all try to give him a hand, and so it goes on and eventually to a happy ending. So I had to develop these. Turns out there are 7 characters, and make wood carvings of all of them. So next slide. So this would be a couple of examples of the pages. After finding out what an illustrator would cost me to do the illustrations in the book, I decided I'd just do them myself. So they maybe aren't the very best, but it's what I came up with. And so it's a 14-page book. This is 2 of the pages without the text on each page. One shows Ollie the owl, who is getting the bees to get some honey for the bear near the end of the story. And earlier on in the story, the little lynx there, Louis, is helping Barely look for blueberries, but unfortunately, the big bears beat him to it, so he's going to remain hungry after that episode. So this is the story that I made and illustrated. Then I decided, okay, I want to make sure I have a factor in this for the wood carvers. So I thought, okay, I'd carved all of the individual animals myself, painted them and so on, and I tried to make the carvings exactly match the size even and colors and everything of the characters in the story. So if the book is 8.5 by 11, the original book, then the carvings will match that. So I did a second book called Carving the Animals of Barely There. And so next slide. So in there will be the patterns such as these ones. These are 3 of my characters here. There are 2 of the bear, but at the beginning of the story, he's very skinny. And at the end, when he finally gets the honey and so on, he's all chubby. So that's why there's a fat Barely who's fat. And Ollie, who is helping get the food. And Bucky the bat, he's upside down right there, because of course he should be hanging, right? But anyway, so that's just 3 showing the patterns that would be given in the How to Carve the Animals book. Next. Now, just a la the typical carving magazine, like Wood Carving Illustrated, etc., that we've seen over the years, I did a series of pictures on how to carve both the bear and the owl in detail, step by step, and both carving and painting of both, with captions and illustrations for each step. Next. And then here on the left side, there's one of the pictures from the illustrations, showing painting the little stripes on the well, it would be a great horned owl, I suppose, showing the stripes on the bars on the wings. On the right side are some of the characters that are in the story. You see their animal caricatures, which I made up, and everything's original, of course. And, I tried to make them interesting and different, each one, and tried to remember some of the little tricks that people said. Try to make the eyes big if you can, and that kind of thing. And I kind of made them partly true to the woods and the animals in the North Woods, and, and partly just a matter of some fiction and characterization.
I like the way you painted that birch.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I learned a little bit from my wife, who's been taking watercolor classes. All my work, including the illustrations in the story, were done in acrylics, because I was used to that from carving, and really not used to others. But she had done lessons on carving birch trees, so I decided he'd be hanging in a birch tree in one of the scenes in the book. So yeah, and so I was just going to school on some of the work she had done. Next. Here's more of the characters. There's a goose that's flying over and so on. So just get you the idea. Next.
I think that's it, Mike.
Oh, yeah, good. Okay, so that gives you the idea. So there are 2 books, and the stage I'm at right now is, with the help of one of my carving friends who's really good with computers, I found after 3 years and getting all this stuff ready, mostly through iPhones and iPads, that then I had to transpose it into a Mac or into a PC computer, and so I was finding I was kind of lacking in skill with that. So a friend of mine helped me a lot, and I have also had the luck to have a good friend who's an author, and she's guided me with the writing of the story and the wording and so on. And so I've had a lot of help from some people, and I really appreciate. And I just wanted you to know, so the way where this is at is a week and a half ago, I submitted all of this to Fox Chapel. So I'm hoping for a publisher. That's where I'm at with this. And if not, if they're not interested, I might end up self-publishing perhaps. So I'll be keeping you guys informed on where things are at in the future. But this has been a fun and exciting project, and really a stretch for me. It's been 3 years of work. So it's while I was carving a bunch of other things too in the meantime, by the way. So yeah, it's been fun.
That's so interesting, Mike.
Yeah, very inspiring.
Oh, thanks. Well, I don't know in the print world for wood carving whether there's an example of somebody having a story and then you can carve all the animals in the story. So I was hoping that people might be interested in something like that and be something as a bit of a departure from what I've seen previously.
Yeah. So Mike, I wonder if you'd be interested in leading one of our challenges someday and picking one of these characters and showing us step by step how it's done in your photographs and leave it to us as a challenge.
Oh, certainly. After retiring from education, a life of teaching and stuff, I just never stopped getting over how wonderful it is to be able to share things with my carving friends. And so I've been teaching carving for probably 30 years now, and it's been very, very rewarding. So sure, I'd be happy to do anything like that. No problem.
Any comments or questions for Mike? Any additional comments or questions? I think that's
great job. Very inspiring.
Really is.
Oh, thank you.
Got my wheels turning.
Yeah.
Nice work.
You got John Paul's wheels turning when you said illustrators were too expensive.
Oh my Lord! You know what? One example was someone would do the cover for me for $1,500.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Just the cover. Never mind the whole rest of the other 14 pages. Like I thought, holy smokes, this damn thing had cost me, probably $20,000 to just have it illustrated if I kept going on that kind of a deal.
Average is $5,000 for the whole.
There you go. And I know one of the problems you face in publishing, I've been learning, is that a lot of the publishing houses have their own crew of illustrators. So they're not so keen on people who are authors submitting it all like camera ready. They'd rather have their own illustrators read your story and illustrate it themselves. And, so I'm kind of bucking that a little bit. And so I don't know, I may never hear from them. They said, if you haven't heard from us in 60 days, sorry, we're not interested.
Yeah.
So, but that's, it's kind of a cutthroat thing. I mean, they got to make money, and that's what the money is not anything of my motivation. It's to sort of to leave a legacy. I'm 78 now, and, just want to leave something behind that the grandkids can hold on to and maybe their kids in the future.
I think that's great. Really interesting. Thanks so much for that, Mike.
Thanks.
Question, Mike.
Yes.
So if you put that all together, are you going to put in like the little like a little piece of wood for them to carve already in the package?
Well, you know what? How this actually comes about and how it'll be sold, I'm leaving that to the input from the publisher.
Right.
So, for example, they could be 2 online books because maybe some people just might want the story and that's it. They're not carvers. And I know this would not be everyone's cup of tea. Some people have said you should go to some company and have them make horrors, plastic versions of all my animals. Oh my God. So, oh, no. But anyway, who knows? Like some people said, well, there aren't that many carvers in the world. I said, well, I don't know. Most of my friends are. But anyway, so we'll see. It's really kind of up in the air about how it all turns out. And, again, this is a work in progress. So I'm just sharing it with you at this stage where I finally at least got it to a publisher in 3 years. So anyway, wish me luck.
Yeah,
Good
really
luck.
exciting.
Very nice.
Really exciting. Thanks so much, Mike.
Thanks.
Okay, let's turn our attention to our carving in the round challenges. And so again, the notion behind this was to help us learn or practice carving all of our figures round. And it was to try to get away from that, tendency we all have to make things a little bit squarish. And so these were two examples. John came up with the bat, which was a great example. John Paul, we were talking earlier today, but I wasn't telling you that I was at the Odessa Club, which is just west of Kingston, and they started to do the bat, and I did one too, and it's not trivial.
Oh yeah.
It is a challenge to do that bat freehand. I stopped a few times thinking I was just going to bring it home, put it on the lathe, and drop it off. But it was a good exercise.
It works.
It does, yeah. And the hoodie guy was another good exercise to make a figure now with the lessons learned from the bat and make something as round as you possibly can, whether it's a round body, round arms, round feet, that type of idea. And so what we want to do here is just recognize all the people who participated in doing this. And I just want to flash the pictures of the various carvings that people did. And if the author of the carving wants to say 10 or 15 seconds about it again, that'd be great. But we would like to be able to recognize just the participation. This isn't a contest. It's just thank you for participating. And Cindy, Mike, and Frank from Chipping Away has very graciously once again offered to support us with a $25 certificate, and we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But thank you to Cindy and Chipping Away. Great store. You can see all of their coordinates on the right-hand side there, and make good use of them and talk to Cindy about what you're looking for, and she'll set you up. So Benoit had sent in, I have a couple of front and back pictures here. Ben, did you want to say anything about this?
Well, it was a nice thing to practice. I loved it. I put my ruler just to show the size of the little carving. So it's a 2 to 3 inch tall.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Just great.
Very clean.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love to see all of the people know me by now. I love to see all those knife marks, and that really makes a carving for me.
That shows the work.
Sorry, I missed that. John Paul?
I said that shows the work that's involved. Instead of it all sanded and plain and smooth, like a painting. I like seeing the brush marks in a painting. Instead of just like anybody can take a picture of a moose or whatever, but I like seeing the painting, the brush strokes.
Those are really nice, Ben.
Thank you.
Very nice. Oh,
Bob,
nice.
you sent this one in to us the other day?
Yeah, just my little hoodie guy. I enjoyed doing it, and it turned out not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're fun to do, eh? Yeah, keep practicing with them. Like it's not a project that takes you weeks and weeks to do, so you can spit them out pretty quickly, and you just keep practicing. That's well done. Pamela, you sent in a baseball bat on home plate.
Nice.
Did you want to say a word about that, Pam?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I rather enjoyed it. It was really good practice on a lot of things about sharpening the knife and making sure you go in the right direction. Like I can see clear as mud where I was making mistakes with not having a sharp knife on the big screen. Thank you very much, Mark.
It looks like you did a little wood burning too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Baz, are you on the line tonight? Not sure Baz is. He sent this one in, and this is the one he added a little bit of snow to it. So, Jacques, are you on the line? Possibly not. Another nice little, the whole notion of rounding, right? That's all it is practicing rounding. Dave, do you want to say a word about this one again?
Yeah, I tried to do the bad thing. I didn't find out about it at the first meeting, but somebody I carved with told me all about it, so I did it, and just trying to make things a little bit different than you're supposed to. Catch you later.
Nice. Fred, you sent an interesting one in.
Yeah, Janet had a
Elbows
good
up.
idea. Elbows up there.
Not a bat, that's a weapon. Good carving. John, I think I saw you on the line.
Yeah, it was a fun little project to work on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, really, again, really nice work on the feet to get that roundness in the feet. You know, that's exactly what we're after, right?
The arms look good.
Yeah, arms look really good. Nice job. Larry?
Yeah, I had fun doing these from your thing there and around. The two of them I did for Christmas time that sat on our kitchen table, and the guys with the hoodies on. And then the other ones for actually I made for as a Christmas present to hang in a tree for my grandson Cooper. And there was a little sea on there, and yeah, they were fun projects. But it's kind of neat because you don't have to worry about doing hands and fingers because the hands are tucked in their pockets. You don't have to worry about doing most of them. You know, do eyes or just a slat. And yeah, so it was there were definitely fun projects with the feet and things like that too, and getting them around and that. I enjoyed that. But I noticed that even with my Cooper guy there, that the knife a little rougher than like you were mentioning earlier in that other one, like how nice and crisp and clean the wood looked. And that's the difference. It's one of my shortfalls right now. I'm using X-Acto knives for everything, even though I got like 75 beautiful carving knives and sharpening them. But there's an example there. I really like it, but you can just see the difference in the cleanness from that other carving that you were talking about earlier. So yeah, it's just a learning curve, eh?
Yeah.
And how to sharpen the tools.
Yeah. I like the little add-on, the little fringe around the hoodie. That looks cute.
Yeah, thank you. I like doing that like fluffy stuff or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of just like pick away at it and do yeah, different things. Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed that too.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I just went with that same theme a lot of you folks are using, you know, a little patriotism for Canada. So he's got the maple leaf up there. And I was trying to tell a little story. So put them on a piece of bark and made like we like cross country skiing. So I sort of have him as on the downhill section of cross country skiing. And he's a little chubby and maybe a little out of shape, but you know, he's hoping to get to the Olympics someday.
He's fluffy.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Oh, that's nice.
Nice. Good job.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I took a reel bat and I used my
Looks like a real
calipers and I
bat.
sort of dimensionally made it to the same proportions. And with the taping, I had a lot of fun with the wood burning, and it had Slugger or something on it. So instead I put my name Whitehead on there as my logo. And sanded it, and it came out nice and round. I used calipers, and I did it like I do the bodies, and that I did it in quarters. So I make a circle, and then I go a quarter to a quarter to a quarter. So instead of trying to make the whole round at one time, I break it down anyway into quarter parts. And anyway, so yeah, I had a lot of fun making that.
Really professional looking. That's really nice. Pamela, you sent in this little guy.
Yeah, that I can tell you, John Paul. I wasn't calling you John Paul when I was getting rid of my pale skin tone face that you commented on last Tuesday night. I ended up getting the knife back out and I'm messing up and messing up and messing up, and it was, of course, a bad piece of wood in the first place. There's a line right through it. And then I decided don't ever paint blue eyes, because if you miss, you can't get the blue eye paint off the other wood. So then I had to carve it down even lower. Pretty soon he was going to have a sunken face. And I knew that I was supposed to use that, whatever that color is, that I got such a big jar of it, everybody could have some, it'll last them a lifetime. But I didn't mix it right. Now, John, your name was everything but John. I tell you. It was a pale skin tone, and he looked at it. And I goes, "Hey, John, what do you think?" And he's like, "What? What's that skin tone?" So yeah. Anyways, that's my first one. Many to come.
Yeah, John's not going back to London for a long time. Scott, are you on the line tonight?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I got a real kick out of doing this one.
Oh, that's fun.
Couple of things is, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Ken. Yeah.
Oh, okay. When I was doing the face, I realized that I had the forehead way too high. So I actually wound up carving in a little bit of hair, which I then uh, styled with my pyrography pen, and just left the face as the natural basswood. And I went to finish the feet, and I was looking at them thinking, those don't look at all like shoes, but tweaked a little bit. I'm going to make them into Crocs. And so that's what I did. And they actually turned out looking pretty good. So that my little guy's got his Crocs and white socks with his jeans and his camouflaged hoodie with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. I'm a stubble jumper from birth. So yeah, you can get the boy out of the prairie, but you'll never get the Rough Riders out of him.
That's really well done. I love that face with the bangs. What a great idea.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Now, John, would you suggest to Pam that that's more the skin tone she should go for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scott,
Yeah, that's just a natural wood.
Yeah.
Scott, I like the way you painted the shirt and the hood. It looks like a two-tone combination. How'd you do that?
Well, I put a solid gray. It was a Nimbus gray was the color I used, and then I modeled it with unbleached titanium, and then went in there with permanent hooker's green and just dabbed at it with a bristle brush to get that mottled effect. The logo on there is the outline of the Saskatchewan new logo that they have, and then I just painted it solid green. If I was to do it again, I wouldn't use the permanent hooker's green. I'd use a different shade because that's still all sort of very, very dark.
Nice
I'd have
effect.
lightened it up.
Nice effect.
Anyway, I liked it. You did a good job. It looks pretty good on my screen, anyways. I enjoy that.
Oh, thank you very much.
I like the Crocs.
Yeah, those were fun.
Yeah, I'll bet. That's cute. Okay, Wayne. Speak to this one again for a minute.
Yeah.
So it's about 5 feet tall, John.
5 inches.
Yeah, 5 inches tall. So a real nice Christmas ornament from John. We'll do a draw for the Christmas elf ornament from me, and we have 2 Tim Hortons gift certificates, each for $10. So we'll draw for each of those as well. Okay. Everybody okay with that?
We'll let them know next month.
No, we're gonna let you know right now.
Oh, okay.
So just give me a minute because I got to get my numbers from the accounting firm that's going to do the draw. On their way up. Okay, so here's Paul.
Hello.
So here's Paul. Say hi to everybody, Paul.
Hi, Paula.
And that's Peggy.
Hi. Hello.
And they're from the accounting firm Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe. Okay, and Paul is going to do the first draw for the $25 gift certificate. You ready? Just one. Okay, let's see who it is. And it is Dave Wilson. So congratulations, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one, yay. And the next one is for John Paul's chainsaw carving. Okay, just one.
No cheating.
No cheating, Paul.
Okay.
No cheating. This one is Pamela. So Pamela, you get one of John Paul's carvings. Now you might not want John Paul's carving after that cruel comment he made about the flesh tone, but that's what you're getting.
She's You should be
Okay,
happy
this
now.
one, next one is for one of my elf ornaments, Paul. You ready? So pull it out. Let's pull a name out. All right, let's see. This one is Larry Whitehead. Larry. Yeah, so Larry gets.
Congratulations.
Hey, Larry.
Congratulations, Larry. And the next one is for Tim Hortons gift certificate. I think Lily's getting excited about this one. Let's see who this one is. This one goes to Debbie Boudreau. Make sure Debbie gets that.
Yay.
And the last Tim Horton gift certificate. One more,
One
Paul.
more.
All right. Let's see who's this one says. This one goes to Jacques Rowland. So congratulations, Dave, Pamela, Larry, Debbie, and Jacques. We'll get that out to you. And thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Buddy.
Thanks, Paul.
Right. Okay.
See you later.
Thanks, Paul.
Hope so. Come on now.
We actually practiced that earlier today.
He did a great job.
He did a great job.
You did good too, Mark, by the way. You did good there.
Did I do okay? All right. Okay, so that's fun. So we'll try to keep that up as a little thing that we want to do. With a little bit of recognition for participation, and maybe if we find a challenge that is particularly noteworthy, maybe we'll have a little contest around it, John, and then we'll then we'll take a look at all of the things we would normally look at when judging a contest entry, right?
I need your address, Pamela.
She'll have to send it to you on email.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a slick way to meet girls, isn't it, John?
He's
Long
already
ways to go.
He's already insulted her. Yeah. Okay, so last little piece I think we'll deal with tonight. We won't get to the sharpening piece, but we did talk last time about having small group tutorials. So these were groups of 3 or 4 people plus an instructor offline of our normal Thursday Zoom calls. We do this, in the course of any given day, morning or afternoon or evening that suited the participants. Probably take about 3 hours, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Thought we'd start with a couple of projects. We started with John Paul's little teddy bear ornament and my elf ornament. Our intent was to sort of get this going, see how it went, see what we'd improve, and then build the instructor project base. And so, I'm not suggesting Mike Selton would do one of these, but he'd be welcome to. But, if we said, geez, it'd be really interesting to do that little bat as an example that he had in his Barely There book, then maybe Mike would offline do an instruction with 3 or 4 people. And so what we did to start was we just offered the people that normally we see on the Zoom calls to sign up. And we said at the time, look, if people don't have access to a bandsaw, can't get the roughed in carving ready for carving, we could figure out a way around that, whether we send it to them or get somebody nearby to do it for them. Okay. And so what we did was we had these 2 as offers, and we went ahead and we were able to get a few people that were interested and try to match a few people up to the right time slot that we could all make it together. And so what happened was Pamela, Jacques, John Paul, and myself met a couple times to do the little elf on the right-hand side. And so here's Jacques, and I don't think Jacques is still on the line, but he did a really nice job with the carving.
Nice painting.
Nice painting,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, really nice painting on it. So now we did say that we were going to come back and paint it together, and Pamela and Jacques and I and John Paul, of course, you're welcome. Yeah, we'll sit down and do that in another Zoom call. Pamela did this one and another nice carving.
As you notice, Paul, John, mine isn't painted yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, watch that face.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that's what we ended up doing. Pam, did you want Pam and John Paul, maybe starting with Pamela, you could just kind of talk about what the experience was and how you think we might improve or whatever?
I really liked it because I'm out here by myself carving away, and and not sure where to start and how to. So it was very interactive, and I didn't feel rushed or pressure to. Your instruction, Mark, was great, and I could do that on a regular basis. I rather enjoyed it, and
How many times did we meet twice?
Twice. We ended up meeting twice.
Yeah. So it took us
Yeah.
to I think the first one was 3 hours and the second was maybe an hour or something like that.
Yeah, a little over an hour. Yeah. So it was great, and I learned a lot. I took some of that, believe it or not, and put it in my little Canada guy.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great.
And John Paul, what was your perspective on that?
Well, it just it was like I'm teaching a lot right now too, so just a one-on-one, it's good to learn. Like it seemed a lot easier and a lot calmer now, instead of rushing. We did a good job.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I learned a little something about it. I started with sort of the camera over my shoulder, and it was okay, but it was kind of hard for me to keep it in front of the camera. And then for the second time around, Pamela, when we met, I had the camera right over the carving, so you're looking straight down at my hands. That was easier for me, and I think it was probably a little clearer for you as well, Pamela. Yeah. So one of the bugaboos about it was we did end up using Zoom, and so we had a 45-minute time limit before we had to redo it, which wasn't tragic until we learned that once you have a 45-minute time limit, you have to wait 9 minutes before you can schedule another meeting. So that was a little bit of a pain in the neck. We used the 9 minutes just to get up and stretch our legs, but that was a little bit of a pain. And so maybe we should think about how to get around that in the future, but it wasn't a showstopper for sure.
Mark, can I just comment on that? We had our New Brunswick Wood Carvers Association meeting this afternoon, and to avoid paying, they scheduled 6 Zoom meetings in a row, so you could just click one after the other, and we didn't use all 6, but so you didn't have to wait the 9 minutes.
So if you schedule them back to back prior to the first Zoom, you don't wait the 9 minutes.
Right.
Okay, that's really helpful. That's really good.
Okay.
That's really good. The other thought we had is that if there's 3 participants, then we all create the next Zoom one, so it's not the same name coming up. But if that works, that's what we'll do next time, Wayne. Okay, thank you. So we'll just leave it at that then. John Paul and I are really interested in doing these little tutorials. They're a lot of fun for us too. So contact me and I'll coordinate it with John Paul if you want to do the bear or the elf, or maybe even do the little leprechaun.
Mouse.
I'm sorry, John. I'm sorry, John Paul.
Yep.
The mouse, the elf, or the leprechaun. Maybe we could try that.
Yep.
All little things that can be done like roughly within a 3-hour period. So just contact us. We'll set up a time and we'll have some fun with that. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Showing up.
Yeah. And thanks for joining the call tonight. And have some fun carving. And we'll meet you again in a month from now. Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Elbows up.
Thank you. That was very good.
Yep.
Elbows up.